All right. This says evaluate 2x minus 1 when x equals 5. What are you going to do with 5? Plug it in. Good. So it is going to be 2 times 5 minus 1. Yes, on a quiz or test, you would always have a calculator. I require the computers be put away while I'm teaching, so we're not on other websites. So we'll just talk our way through it. But yes, you'd have a calculator on your test. Yeah, you were correct. Good job. 2 times 5. 10 minus 1, 9. Very good. We plugged in 5, we got back 9. That's the review. We've done that before. Now, this is what function notation looks like. This is said f of x. F of x. X is the input. Whatever you get back out is the output, okay? Do you see how I made it the same thing? It says find f of 5. What you are doing is no different. We're just writing it with this function notation. So please don't get hung up on the fact that it looks different. The math you're doing is the exact same. F of 5 means plug in 5. That's literally it. Thank you. So it will be 2 times 5 minus 1, which will give you what? 9. All it means is plug it in. That is literally it. Are you all on board with me? Plug in the number. That's all that it is. Also, it means if you were to do this graph, the point 5, 9 would be on the graph. Do you get what I'm saying? Like that point would exist on the graph. Is this making sense? That would be on there. Look down here. I gave you 3 different functions. Do you see f of x equals, g of x equals, and h of x equals? The reason we call them all different things is so that you can tell them apart. It's like naming them Frank, George, and Harry. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, so that they aren't all like that one or the other one. It's like you've given them a name. So it tells you which one to plug into. So what this is saying right here, f of 2, it means you're going to plug in 2 to which function? Function f, right? Okay. Do you see how it says f of 2? You're going to plug in 2. Do you see where I'm pointing right here?
Wait, so that goes with the one above?
You're going to plug in 2 to this function right here. If you want to draw a line across, it's like these are your functions and you're picking which one you're going to use. And then these are the problems that we're doing. So you're going to plug in 2 to function f. Ready? Where there's an x, you're going to put a 2. So it's going to be 2 times 2 plus 5 divided by 3. Again, I realize in a testing situation, you would just type that into Desmos, but let's talk our way through it because I believe in you. What is 2 times 2? 4 plus 5 is 9 divided by 3 is 3. So your answer is 3. You just plugged in 2. You just have to plug into the correct function. So like, look at the next one. You're going to plug in -3 to which function? G, that's this one. Everywhere there's an x, you're going to put a -3. Okay, so it will be -3 squared minus 4 times -3. We just plugged in -3 for x. Again, you would have a calculator, but let's talk about -3 squared. What that means is -3 times -3. Squared means you're timesing it by itself. So if you multiply those together, what do you get? Good, +9, because negatives cancel out. Good. So that will be +9. And then what about this? -4 times -3. Good, that'll be +12. 9 plus 12 will be 21 is your final answer. You are just plugging in a number. And I get that you won't actually do any of that work on a test. You would type it in the calculator, but I believe you can do it. Here you're going to plug in -7, but to which one? H. Just pick the correct one. And I made these first few kind of line up. So it's going to be 1 minus -7. So minus a negative means if you subtract a negative, it'll be what? Positive. Good. So this is really 1 plus 7. So 8 is your final answer. This next one has a fraction and it's negative. It's a negative fraction. You're gonna be okay. We're gonna plug in -1/2 to which one? F, good. Right here, we're gonna plug in -1/2. Where there's an X, you're gonna put a -1/2. And yet again, I realize you would just type that in a calculator. Can you take that off your head, please?
Is it -1?
It is. Can I get everybody else there? Hold on just a second. Pretend it's positive. What's half of 2? 1, except it's going to be -1. So that's -1 plus 5/3. Just kind of simplifying it down. Do the numerator. What is -1 plus 5? Or 5 minus 1 is 4. So 4/3. That fraction doesn't reduce, so you would just leave it. Heads up, this one has an X in it. You're going to be okay. You're going to plug 3x plus 2, that whole thing, into which function? This one right here, h, okay? So it's going to be 1 minus, and in place of x, you're going to put all of that. You're plugging all of this in for x. Write it down. And do you see how I put parentheses around it? It needs a hug. Whatever you're plugging in should get a hug. There was a question almost exactly like this at the very end of your last test. That was one of those review ones. And a lot of you got it right. What are we going to do with this negative?
We're distributing.
Good. When you distribute a negative, it's just going to negate everything. If it was positive, it makes it negative. If it was negative, it makes it positive. So it'll be 1 minus 3x minus 2. Perfect. Oh my gosh. Come up here and teach the class. Combine like terms. Oh, Kyle's not here, but this is purple circle. 1 minus 2. Careful. That was a little weird. 1 minus 2. -1. Good. Minus 3x is your final answer. Now, sometimes people get hung up on the fact that there's an X in the answer. Well, there was an X in the question. So yeah, that makes sense that that's going to be there. G of 1. You're going to plug in 1 to which function? G, right here. Everywhere there's an X, we're going to put a 1. So what's 1 squared? 1 times 1. 1 minus 4 times 1. 4, yeah, just -4. 1 minus 4, that's going to come out negative. Yeah, -3, good. And again, if you're getting hung up on some of that, I'm talking you through it without a calculator. You would obviously have a calculator on a test. You would just type it in. That's all that it is. Basically, can you use a calculator? Now, 9 and 10 are kind of backwards. Look it. It says find x if your answer is 6. You're being given the answer, you want the question. It's like Jeopardy. Does anyone watch Jeopardy? No. Oh, okay. Well, do you know how they always phrase like what is, like their answer is really the question? Anyway, they're being given the answer, you give the question. So we're going to take h of x, which is this one right here, 1 minus x, and set it equal to 6. Do you see how I just took the whole thing and set it equal to 6? And then we're going to solve that. The last unit we just did was on solving equations. So ready, here we go. What would you do to both sides? -1? Hold on, you're ahead of me. Let's write down the next step. This would be -x equals 5. Good. And then your last step would be what? Or divide by? Yeah, it's really like the negative just goes to the other side. You're canceling out the negative. We're dividing by a -1. So x would equal -5. Really, all you have to do is make sure you choose the right function. This one we're going to set equal to 11, but which function are we using?
2x plus 5.
Yeah, this one right here. 2x plus 5 divided by 3 equals 11. And then you solve that. Just take the whole darn thing and set it equal to 11. All right, this one has like a fraction in it. You're going to be okay. What would you do to both sides? Yeah, multiply by 3. You guys are doing great. Keep going. Nice job. I'll give you a break when we finish this page. Focus with me and write it down. It's how you learn. So this would be 2x plus 5 equals 11 times 3, 33. Good. And then we're going to subtract 5. I'm going to move over here because I ran out of space. I'm sorry. I write too big. 2x equals 28. Yep. And divide by 2, 14. You guys are good. You don't even need a calculator. I think I'll just make everything non-calculator. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm just complimenting you. You're very good at those. So you're just taking something and plugging it in. Are we all good? Just don't get caught up on the notation. Number 11, given this relation, maybe like box that off. This is what we're going to be using. Determine whether the following ordered pairs are in the solution set. This is in essence a yes or a no question. It's yes or no. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to plug in -2 for x and +6 for y and just see if it works. It's just, does it work? Is it true or false? What do you do a lot of true false in, like history class? Like a lot of true false. I remember a lot of true false in history class. I was so bad at it. But anyway, this is like definitively true or false. All right, so we're going to plug in -2 for x. Ready? That'll be 3 times -2. I'm just plugging in right here. 3 times -2 plus 2 times 6 equals 6. I just plugged in for the x and the y. I took these numbers, plugged them in for x and y. We're just going to see if that actually works or not. It either does or it doesn't. So what is 3 times -2? That'll be -6, good, plus 2 times 6 is 12 equals 6. And we just want to decide if that's true or not. -6 plus 12 equals 6. Yes, it works. Yay. It's a yes or a no question. That's all, like a true or a false. If you're true, then fine. You're going to make it. We're just going to practice a couple more. I'll give you a break. So you're going to plug in 0 for x, -3 for y. Right here. It'll be 3 times 0 plus 2 times -3 equals 6. And then you just see if it works. Don't try to force it to turn out a certain way. Just see what happens. Now 0 is great because what's 0 times anything? 0. And then this will give you -6 equals 6. And so here's my question to you. Is that true? 0 minus 6 equals 6. No, because 0 minus 6 would actually be, it would actually be -6. So this one's a no. This next one has a 0.5 in it. What is 0.5 in like fraction world? That's a 1/2. You can do 0.5. I would do 1/2. I think that makes things a little bit easier. But we're going to plug in 1 for x and 1/2 for y. So this will be 3 times 1 plus 2 times 1/2 equals 6. We're just going to see if it works. So 3 times 1 is 3. 1/2 of 2 is 1. And so you get 3 plus 1 equals 6. So is that true? No, it is not. Okay, but you can't act bored now and then act confused when I give you a quiz later. It doesn't work that way. Okay. That's like really to everybody. Because I get that happens in my upper level classes a lot too. People act bored while I'm teaching it. And then when I give, so I assume everybody knows what I'm talking about. And then I give a quiz and everyone's like, I don't know what's going on. Well, don't act bored then. All right, we'll try one more and then I'll give you a break. We're going to plug in 1 for x, 1 1/2 for y. 1 1/2 as a fraction would be 3/2. I like fractions better than decimals. That's my personal preference. Again, I know you're going to have a calculator when you do this, but plug in 1 for x and then 3/2 or 1 1/2 for y. I just like fractions better because you can see stuff canceling. I think it's easier, honestly. Because this part's 3, and then here, look it. try and get you on board to liking fractions better than decimals. Do you see how these twos will just cancel? Yeah, so it's just 3. Like, I don't know. I just feel like fractions are better than decimals. So here's the question. Is that true? Yes. 3 plus 3 equals 6. So yes. So you just plug it in and see if it works. All right, this says the domain. Oh, is domain X or Y? X. Let's write a note. Domain is X. If all the X's for this function are these 3 numbers, what is the range? Well, we're just going to take those 3 numbers and do what with them? Plug them in. See what you get. Those are X. We're going to plug them in, see what we get for Y. So plugging in -1. This would be 6 minus 2 times -1 over 5. Let me just go ahead and write them all out. I'm going to do the exact same thing with 0. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with 3. Hey, Miss Cole, it looks like you wrote the same thing 3 times. Yeah, pretty much did. I just changed what number I was plugging in. Write it down. You can do it. I really swear. Michael, write this down for me. I promise you'll be all right. We're just going to plug in 3 numbers. We only have a couple more problems. You can do it. You can do it. Only a couple more problems to do. Pep talk. Go team. It's super easy. You don't want to miss something like this. And you would even just type these in your calculator, wouldn't you? Like you would just type it in. I'm having you use your brain, but I know you would just type them in. So this would be 6. And then -2 times -1 would be what? Well, what happens to the negatives, first of all? It would be 2, and the negatives would cancel. So +2 over 5. So that'd be what, 8 over 5? I would just leave it as 8 over 5. All right, and then how about this one? This would be 6 minus 0 over 5, which would just be 6 over 5. And then this one would be 6 minus 6 over 5, which, what would that give us? That'd be 0 over 5. 0 divided by anything is just going to be 0. It's kind of like nothing divided by stuff. You still have nothing. All right. So this would be your range. These 3 numbers right here. Technically, there should be like a swirly bracket around it, but whatever. Those are the 3 numbers in your range. Just take them and plug them in. This one is the same thing except backwards. It says the range would be these numbers. So these are your Y values, like your output values. What is the domain? So instead of plugging in, this time you're going to set the equation equal to these. So it's going to be 3x minus 1 equals -4. I'm waiting. Question? Are you sure? It's like my job.
I'm like really confused. Like, we would put -4 instead of X or like
No, and that's because this says the range. So let's review that. Range means what?
the Y value.
The Y values. So instead of plugging in for X, you're setting the whole thing equal to those numbers. It's backwards. It's like your Jeopardy questions, but no one watches Jeopardy, so you don't get that reference. All right, and then you're going to have 3x minus 1 equals -1, and then 3x minus 1 equals 5. So if they give you the domain, you just plug it in. If they give you the range, then you set it equal to and actually solve it. Go ahead and solve those real quick, and then I will write the answers and you can check them. Wake up, wake up. We're solving equations. Set 3x minus 1 equal to each of those numbers. I got -1 for the first one. Is that any confirmation on that? Thank you.
Yeah.
You got that? Okay. You add 1, divide by 3. Oh my gosh, you're going to add 1 for this one too. Yeah, oh my gosh, we got 3x equals 0. And so when you divide by 3, you get 0. Good. And then this one, you get 3x equals 6. Why was it the same steps for all of them? Yeah, it's the same equation. We just set it equal to 3 different numbers. So this would be your domain, -1, 0, and 2. Let me say that again. If they give you domain, plug it in. If they give you range, set it equal to them. It's the difference between having the input and the output. Now these last ones, you're given a graph and a table. Please watch. These are no work questions. And if you look away, you're going to miss it because you basically just look at it and go, oh, there's the answer. F of 0. That means you want the point 0, comma something. 0 what? And all you do is find it on the graph. Look, do you see this point right here? Do you see how it's 0, comma -3? -3 is your answer. Literally, that's it. If you're like, that's it, yeah. But you need to pay attention so you don't miss the easy ones, okay? F of 5, that means you want the point 5, comma something. So all you do is go to the graph and find a point on it that would be 5 something. It's right here. Do you see that? It would be 5, comma 2. 2 is your answer. That's literally it.
Oh, we're not supposed to put it in the parentheses.
Oh, you can put it in the parentheses if you want. I wouldn't mark that wrong, but it's technically just the answer.
Oh.
I just wrote that so you could see what's happening. Because down here it's backwards. Find x if your output value is -4. So for this one, you want a point that's something, comma, -4. So you have to look over here on your graph and find where there's a y value that's -4. It would be right here. Do you see it? So -1 is your answer. And then this one, same thing, find x if your output value is 0. So you need something, comma 0. So 3, good. You guys see that there? There's no work, but pay attention. You will be sad if you miss one of those on your test, won't you? It's like no work. Okay, so you got to pay attention. Because I get people that ignore the easy ones and then like end up having a problem. Yes, ma'am, go ahead. No. It's not that hard, guys. There won't be. We're only going to do the one quiz and then your test will be. Yeah. All right, now here we're going to use the table. H of -4. Look at the table. What would it be? -4 what? Do you guys see that? That's all it is. I can't make it easier than that. H of 2. -4. These ones are backwards. Find x when your output value, like your y value, is -1. So 0. And then this one would be 4.